and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache Snow, and you can find me on nachesnow.com, NACHESNOW. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. I have another amazing guest today. Her name's Cassandra Clarke-Williams. And what's funny is it's making those connections. I always say this, right? But we went to University of Baltimore together and we were both getting our masters at the time. And this was like several years ago. But recently I actually became more active on LinkedIn. After being part of like a mastermind group, the coach was like, LinkedIn is a great place to like connect with people. So I was like, okay, because I totally neglected my LinkedIn account. But when I became more active on there, she reached out to me. And then when I looked at her profile and kind of saw some of the things she was doing, like writing a book, trying to get into more coaching, I'm like, wow, this is a great person to have on a podcast because she can talk to us because she's like in the thick of it, right? She's, her book's about to be, published hard copy. And, she could tell us like what this past year has been like as far as, selling it online. And then also like me, she's trying to get into like speaking and really she has already, I haven't done anything, but she actually has had some of like speaking engagements. So I learned a lot too, because as I've mentioned on another episode, that is something I want to get into, like motivating folks, in particular, like motivating women to like start their passion and publish their passions online. And then also like teenagers too. I'd like to speak at a few schools to get them to start thinking differently about their online presence and about their brand, because this is something that lasts forever. So kind of being thoughtful about your content. So anyway, I learned a lot, and I think you guys will learn a lot too. But then even if you're not interested in doing any of this, I think her story is just interesting in general. It's just motivational too, because a lot of times people sometimes say to me like, oh, Nache, well, you don't have any kids. That's why, you're able to do all this stuff. And I'm like, no, actually, it's just you have to be thoughtful with your time. Like you saying me not having kids is just like, that is an excuse folks are telling themselves. And that might sound harsh, right? But I think Cassandra is a perfect example of how anyone, when they put their minds to it, can do it. I mean, she's been married for 20 years. She has 3 kids. And when you guys hear all the hustle she has and projects she has, it's like if you have a dream and you want to put something out there, you make time to do it. And I feel like I've talked to several folks that have big families and they manage to do it, and they don't neglect their families, right? They just make sure that they carve out some time for them. So, and I know it's a balance. I know it's not as easy as me just saying it, but I love having her on here because if you are that person with 3 or 4 kids and you're like, I don't know, I'm not sure if I can do this, whatever this is, yes, you can. Okay, I've talked way too long. So anyway, I am going to get to Cassandra, but no, I'm going to extend my Inbox Zero course. I've gotten a lot of great feedback. So if you go to nachesnow.com/Inbox Zero, it'll take you to that course information. It's absolutely free. So be sure to sign up for it, especially if you're trying to get organized. All right, let's get into it. Hello, everyone. I have Cassandra here. Cassandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So before I just start picking your brain, can you tell the listeners just a little bit about your background?
So my background, I am a school counselor, been a school counselor since 2009, August of 2009. I also do mental health therapy on the side. So I am a licensed mental health therapist. I am also working on my PhD. and I should be done with that in around about March. We're just doing a little closing up all loose ends of the whole dissertation process. I also work at Johns Hopkins teaching counseling, school counseling and training internship class. I do that once a week. So, and that's pretty much. I have 3 kids. I've been married for 20 years. I've been in the school system for almost 16 years now, and I have 2 books that I wrote, and that's pretty much it. I am going around getting my feet wet into the speakers world, so that's where I am treading, and I also do coaching.
Wow, that's a lot. So I'm like writing furiously so I can take mental note of everything and all the questions that I want to ask you. So, I guess I'll start here because I'm trying to just get into the listener's brain. First off, how do you juggle all of these different things? Because of course you could just decide to do like the 9 to 5, come home with the family, and then that's it. Like how do you juggle it, and why have you decided to kind of branch off into all these different ventures?
So, pretty much juggling it is very tough because it is a lot. So let me start with the easy thing. John Hopkins is a 1 week, class. So, and then there's a break in between. So, and I don't work in the summers. So I just pretty much am able to manage that because it's a one day thing and it's 2 hours. So it doesn't really require, because I'm doing more supervision than anything. So it really doesn't require a whole lot of work because it's, like I said, more of a supervision thing. School counseling is my primary job at this time. So I am there at the school system from 8 to 3:30. I do mental health on certain days during the week. And on Saturdays, I have a couple of clients. I don't have that many clients. I have about 7 clients. And coaching and speaking, those things usually take place on a Saturday. So if it's at a conference, that's usually on a Saturday. It's not during the week. And that's pretty much how I juggle those things. The speaking is not every week, and it's not every month. So it's when it comes about. And a few of my speaking engagements have been virtual presentations. So I'm able to do those in the evening and meet a specific deadline, because usually there's a specific deadline that you have to meet depending on when the virtual speaking will be due, because it's usually for some sort of a conference that's coming up or something like that. So the speaking is very new. So I'm in the process of growing my business. I've started the business and is working along real slow. So my ultimate goal is to take that on full time. So as I'm moving out of the school system, I'm hoping to move into that full time. So, but it is kind of tough because it's like I feel like I'm working four jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you're going to school,
right? Well, that's in stages. So that's really good for me right now because it's in the end stages. So really, all of the writing is complete. And it's just a lot of, double checking for grammar, things of that nature. And the last thing I have to do is write the abstract, and that's like a paragraph. But the whole thing is pretty much already written. We just getting approvals and stuff like that. So if it wasn't for that being in the stage that it's in, I would not be able to be trying to do all of this stuff. Right. When I was in full mode of dissertation, oh gosh, that consumes your whole life. It really does. It consumes your whole life. So yes, I would not be able to do half of the things that I'm doing if my dissertation was not in the stage that it's in right now. All my writing is pretty much over. It's more of making little corrections to certain areas and things of that nature. So it's done. It pretty much is done. So, but it's very tough trying to juggle all those things. But I know what I want to do, and I really would love to go around speaking to different people and sharing my story and helping others. So that's what keeps me going.
And then also, because I think sometimes people like struggle finding different opportunities. Like, how were you able to find out about the John Hopkins like teaching opportunity, or how are you going about like finding speaking engagements?
So John Hopkins, I would have to say, I never ever in my mind ever imagined that I would be working there. I never even truly never even really considered, because I was like, oh, they just so prestige. I'm not going to get it. So I just didn't even think about it, to be honest with you. But what happened was, in my PhD program, we have to do a 600-hour internship, and they want us to do it in like 5 different areas. If you could spread it out between 5 different areas, that's what they would like for you to do. But it's your choice on where you do the 600 hours. So the director of the school counseling program, would come to our professional development in the beginning of the school year when school counselors were going back to work. We will always have that first week while we're preparing for students to come back the following week. We will always have a professional development, and the director of the school counseling program will always come to our professional development and, speak to the school counselors about different things.
Mm.
So in my quest for looking for an internship, and I wanted to get some teaching experience on a collegiate level, my coworker she said to me one day, she was like, Cassandra, why don't you consider contacting the director of the school counseling program? And I'm looking at her like a deer in headlights, like, are you serious?
Right, like
I mean, I know she comes to our professional development, but we haven't really like spoken on a personal level. So
mm.
she handed me a little sticky, and she was like, why don't you contact her? I was like, okay. When she walked out the door, I was just like, whatever, and stuck the sticky on my desk. And it took me several weeks to contact her. So I said, let me email this director. So I went online, put her name in, found her email, because all she did was give me the name. She was like, oh, won't you contact her? So I went online, put her name in, Googled her, and got her email. So I emailed her, and she forwarded the email over to the new director, because I had no idea that the director had changed. And she said, well, what can you do for this young lady? So I explained in my email that, I'm in a PhD program. I need an internship, and just, went on about that, and sent my resume. So she forwarded the email over to the new director and was like, how can you help this young lady? And the director that's the director now, she asked me to come in for a meeting. Went in for a meeting. It was like I just already had it. It was like, like we talked about what I would be doing, because I would be working with her and all that. I was like, wow, I've never had anything come so easy in my life.
Right. And just think if you wouldn't have like sent that email.
Right. So I have to credit my coworker for suggesting that I contact them. And because I had truthfully, I forgot that she would come to our PDs. It just never came to my mind. And so I just never even thought to contact them. I was just looking for different colleges, because I really didn't know. I really had no idea on how to go about the whole situation. I really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and I went to that interview, and she was like, okay, well, we'll be working together. So I interned with this person who turned out to be, I love her to death. She is like best. She really is. She took me under her wing, and she mentored me. And I couldn't ask for anything better than that. So I ended up interning with her as a TA, teaching assistant, in her her counseling orientation course, or was it intro to counseling? One of those, for 2 semesters, for the fall and the spring semester. And then when the spring semester was over, she was so impressed with me that she was like, do you want to teach? I said, sure.
Why yes.
Yeah. She was like, what do you want to teach? I had no idea what I wanted to teach, but I was like, let me go on the supervision route because I had the less experience in supervision. So I was like, let me go supervision route. So she was like, okay. So I've either taught. So sometimes I teach practicum, and or I'll teach internship, but mostly internship.
Oh,
And
okay.
I really, really enjoy internship because I get to go to the schools and visit the schools that the students are in and speak and see what that school district is like in terms of
Mm.
their counseling program and things of that nature. And always go back to my counseling district in Baltimore City, and I'm just like, why are we missing this? This other county
Yeah.
has this, or this.
Right.
That. Like, why we don't have that? Because to me, it seems like it makes the system run better.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I love it in those terms that I get to go to different, counties and districts to see what they are doing with their counseling programs.
Yeah, I mean, and then it benefits everyone because when you come back, you can be like, you know what? They're doing this, this, and that, and we've never considered it. Maybe we need to adopt whatever. And then when you go out to these other places, if you see things that they're not doing that other places are, you could be like, hey, you might want to consider X, Y, and Z. So it's just
Mhm.
helping everyone out. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And then for the speaking engagements, because that's like something I've been toying with, like, I love like the podcast, but I was like, man, it'd be nice to kind of get out there and kind of speak in front of groups about like entrepreneurship, design, setting up websites, whatever, whatever. But I'm still kind of toying with it and figuring out like, how should I get out there? But how were you able to like get these speaking engagements? And are they like paid speaking engagements? Are you doing free initially? I'd love to hear just more about that.
So my speaking engagements have not been paid because I'm new to getting out there. Not new to speaking, but really now trying to take it on as a really as a full time job. In order to get out yourself out there, most times you have to pay. So I look for conferences that are geared toward the topics that I know that I can speak on.
Mm.
So pretty much you have to look for conferences that's taking place. You find these conferences, and then usually if you want to speak, usually you go in as a sponsor, or they have
Oh.
various ways you can, because each one is different. So they'll allow you to speak. So okay, for example, last April I spoke at the Baltimore Total Women's Conference, and
Mm.
what I did was the sponsorship that I purchased allowed me to have a table and to speak
Mm.
and to sit on a panel that they have.
Mm.
So each conference have their own level, different levels, and you just have to find a conference that's on a topic, that's related to your topic, and pretty much you pay for whatever level of sponsorship, whichever one that allows you to speak, and you go and you speak, and that's how you start to get yourself out there. Um, to start,
Mm.
because you want to just build up to say that I spoke at this conference, this conference, this conference, or either virtual. They also do a lot of virtual. Some conferences, depending on how big it is, they do a lot of virtual speaking. So I was
Mm-hmm.
virtual. I also participated in a conference called Unconference 2016, and that one was held in Texas. But it also came with, so I attended the conference, but it also came with a speaking component, a virtual speaking component in the ebook that I had, the first ebook that I have on Amazon. So that whole package included that.
Mm. No, that's genius because, the things like I've been reading a lot of articles on that as I'm thinking about like how I would even tackle this and what places I would want to speak at. Would it be conferences? Would it be at schools? Would it be at this? Would it be at that? And one thing they say is you do need to kind of build up your portfolio, have somebody maybe even record, you speaking just so then you have samples that
Mm-hmm.
you could provide to other places that would be willing to pay you in order to speak, but they need proof that you've done this before and you're comfortable in front of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all of those things are really good tips.
Yes. And also, you can go like if you have a topic that you would like to speak on. So say like you already have a topic that you want to speak on, you could rent a room at one of the universities because that's another suggestion that of a lot of things. Because I do research too on where to find speaking engagements. Renting a room at a university and the university will help promote your topic and inform students that, oh, today Nache will be speaking in this room on this such and such topic. And just to get students engaged, they do stuff like that too. So they'll send your information around and let the students know, the student body know that you'll be speaking on whatever topic on whatever day at whatever time to help promote
Mm.
whatever you're going to discuss. So it's a lot of different ways to do. You could do it at a library too if you want to have a workshop. Those are a lot of places they suggest, like have a workshop training for whoever your niche is. So if it's to parents about helping their children with whatever, just say it's being held at the library, and also doing webinars and stuff like that. That also adds to your speaking reel.
No, I think those are all like really, really great tips. And the nice thing about it too is like once you really build up a portfolio, there's like the sky's the limit because there are people who get paid 3,000 to like 30,000 per speaking engagement. So I feel
Yeah,
like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm
yeah.
like, yes, please pay me thousands of dollars to speak. Like,
And some places will pay you more than that because I went when I did the unconference 2016. The presenter there was saying how they were offering her $85,000 to speak because they heard her speak.
right. And the thing is that, and two, like, I guess the more you get out there too, like if people hear that you're speaking at a certain conference, that drives up ticket sales.
Hmm. And see,
Mm.
you never know where you may go, where somebody may approach you about speaking about something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
No,
they
that's
also
great.
say look into organizations too, because like sometimes certain organizations have, speaking engagements within the organization, and then you can
Mm-hmm.
also get speaking gigs that way too, because you just never know who's sitting in a room that needs somebody.
Yeah, I guess the key here, like listening to you, because, you said a lot of things that I didn't even think about, like renting a room at a university or going to a library. I guess the key here is like, it's like no matter if it's, how small even the venue is, it's like just get out there and speak,
Yes.
having like maybe even like a signature presentation that you could pitch to people and just be ready to go. And then just,
Hmm.
over time, I guess, continue to like perfect it, you know?
Yes. You
Mm,
just got to get out there. I mean, I read so many things that talk about going to different universities because that's probably the cheapest way to go if you don't
mm.
have a whole lot of money to, get with one of these conferences and pay whatever it is that they are suggesting for you to be able to speak in front of their audience. So everybody doesn't have that type of money, and to go to a library or a university probably will not charge a whole lot. They probably charge close to nothing just for you to rent a room because that brings stuff that brings the student knowledge to students within their school. So
Mm-hmm.
folks are looking for opportunities like that to offer knowledge and information to their students. And I keep saying that I'm gonna do that because I work at John Hopkins.
Right, right.
I go to different like I've worked in their building in Rockville. I've worked at the Columbia site. I worked at the Baltimore City site. I mean, so the Columbia site is probably the better one for me because Rockville is kind of far. But the Maryland Counseling Association for years had their annual conference at the Columbia site in at the John Hopkins building. So I know it's conducive for presentations and stuff like that. So if people want to even start put on a small scale conference, they can have a small scale conference there at John Hopkins.
Mm. No, yeah. Great ideas. Now, you said something earlier, like the one conference you were in that you decided to like pay to speak at and have a table at. Part of the reason for you doing that was to promote your books. But before, I just we get into like how that helped maybe book sales or not, can you
Mhm.
tell us just a little bit about the books that you've written, like the topics and all that good stuff?
So the first book that I did was the ebook, and that was in lieu with the conference 2016 that I told you about. So that was the book was really in line. The ebook was really in line to what our topic was. So and it wasn't just me; it was like 30 of us that actually did this. So
Okay.
and it was published as a group. Like our books all came out 2 days within each other, something like that. But the book was based on whatever your virtual speaking presentation was about, and mine was on maximizing relationships with others. So the book is closely related to that. So it pretty much talks about communication. It's called breakdown communication. Is social emotional through a social emotional context. So pretty much showing how communication is like at the top of some of the issues that take place in relationships,
Mm.
and how we have these issues, social emotional issues, that play a huge role in us not being able to communicate well, and then how that is affecting our relationships. So this is an ebook. It's about 20 pages long, and it's just real quick, short, get to the point on a topic, and gives a few strategies on what people can do to help with communication.
Mm.
This second book, now, these two books just came out. So when I did the conference back in April, I didn't have the book. So that was more to promote my coaching with Clark business. And so people can meet me, being that I was speaking or presenting at this conference. The second book is a book that I wrote one day in June. I just woke up wanting to write. And I don't know where that feeling came from, but it just overtook me, and I was in my office for 2 days, just pecking away. I did not want to leave the computer. I had to take my children to driving school. I was like, sheesh, I can't leave right now. I'm in the middle, but I had to go. So, but for 2 days, I don't know where that feeling came from. And I always knew I would write a book because of being at the University of Baltimore. That's what I went to that program for, was for fiction writing, even
Mm.
though I ended up going with the principal program, but I was there for writing. So I knew one day I would write a book, and I always thought it would be a fiction book. Never thought that I would write two books that were nonfiction. So that day in June, I was just pecking away. And pretty much this book is called Getting to Know Me, How I Deepen My Inner Self in 66 Days. So the beginning half of the book focuses on, the many challenges that I had from age 15 until now.
Mm.
Um, so the different things that I went through in life, period. And I created this 8-step system called 8 M's. And each one M stands for money, motivation, meditation, meal plan, move, manage time, memoirs, and mindset. So I used those 8 M's for 66 days on myself and I journaled about it. So memoir stands for journal. I journaled about my whole entire experience going through those 66 days. And I did that over the summer. So I wasn't at my full-time job that allowed me to do this.
Right, right.
So I did that on myself and actually put it in and made it into a book. So and if you read the book, you'll see every day there's a journal for 66 days. And what I did on those days as it relates to those 8 M's. And I went with this company that I met. I went to Lisa Nichols' conference last April,
Mm.
the end of April into May, the last week in April. That was the first time I ever been to a conference of this nature, like, just motivational. When I tell you I left
Mm-hmm.
here on a high, Left me on a emotional high because I had never been in a room with 500 people where everybody's just like loving and caring and excited and motivated, and it was like nothing I've ever attended before.
Mm,
It was just great. So I met this couple there that well, everybody met the couple that helps people publish their books. So usually what they do is you'll have a telephone interview with them, and you whatever you want your book, whatever your book is going to be about, you'll talk about, whatever the book is going to be, and what you're going to be discussing and all of that stuff like that. And then they transcribe your words into the book. Well, we didn't have to do that because I already wrote my book and
right.
did it on myself. So they pretty much helped me get it published through Amazon.
Mm,
Basically, just like, formatting it, um, getting it ready for to first be a electronic copy of the book, and now it's about to be printed. So I'm proofing it. I'm in a proofing stage. Like, I have a copy of the printed copy, but it's in a proofing stage. So once I finish proofing it, then Amazon will go ahead and start printing the copies where people could get actually purchase a paperback copy of the book.
mm,
That's how this whole book thing got started. This book,
mm.
the last one, the book that I wrote, I had no idea that was coming. That was just something that took place in June. I just woke up one day after school was over, and just was like, "Oh, I want to write about this," and I just started writing.
Wow.
I'm
How
writing.
many pages?
It has. Let me see. 277 pages.
Wow, that's a nice size book.
Yeah, and it's not, no, it's a real quick, easy read though.
Hmm.
It sounds like it's a lot of pages, but remember the last half of the book is
Oh, it's
really,
the journaling, right? Yeah.
yeah, well, you can call it a journal, but I list on there what I ate that day, what exercise I did, anything I did that pertains to the 8 M's. So every
Mm.
day, of course, I didn't do the 8 M's. I tried to, but it was very hard to do those 8 M's. So I developed a coaching program off of those 8 M's.
Mm.
So I have a group coaching program or individual coaching program that people can use to start bettering themselves. Because that was the whole purpose of doing that, was to see how can I improve myself as on a self development piece. So this is a self development book.
Mm. No, that's amazing. Just how like they're all interconnected, like how one thing connects to each other. You have this idea, you just go with it, you write this book, you decide to kind of like publish it, like even with the ebook and then now like of course a physical book, and then also like taking it a step further and then actually doing coaching. So that's pretty cool. It's like so far like um uh do you consider it to be successful? Are you still kind of marketing it? Have you been able to reach like a wide set of people yet? Kind of what stage are you in?
So I am in the still marketing stage because the physical book hasn't come out yet. But
Mm.
once the physical book comes out, then that will launch a whole new marketing. I'm planning on having a book signing. I'm getting ready to do a few webinars, all based on this book, and introduce my group coaching program for those 8 M's. So that is all to come as soon as I'm done proofing the book, and I'm pretty much done proofing the book.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so all of that will start taking place probably within the next couple of weeks.
And then too, this couple, so they did like the layout for you. Did they also do like the book cover? And it sounds like they did like some editorial things too, or no? Did they just format the text?
So I sent them all of the text information and then they handled the rest. They did my book cover, so I supplied them with the picture, gave them some ideas of some book covers that I liked. So they did all the graphics. So you pretty much purchase a package from them, and based on the package says outlines what is going to take place. I did a radio interview based on the book. They
Oh.
they did all of the stuff for me for Amazon, like uploading it and getting it formatted, and they did all the designing for promoting it on social media. They also did a press release, so it got seen on I don't even know how many stations. It was a
Mm.
lot. So they pretty much based on the package that determines what they can actually help you with. So I was very pleased with the help that I received from them. And I love the book cover. I really do. Like it looks exactly like it does on the electronic copy if you purchase like the electronic Kindle. But just to
Hmm.
see in book form, it has its own little feel to it. So I really love the cover. I was very surprised when it came in the mail. I was like, yay, this is so.
Right. And then what's the name? And I'll include a link to them in the show notes. Do you know their company name?
The company name is the Bestsellers Guild. They have a group on Facebook. I could give you all of that information for people who would like to, you know, get their first book published.
No, perfect. I'll yeah, so everybody listening out there, I'll definitely include that in the show notes. And just to backtrack for the ebook thing, I was just curious because I know like with events, like so for example, I sell with another business physical products, so I could go out to different events to sell them. And some events I'll sell hundreds of dollars a day, and other events I'll come back and only sold $25 worth.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious, like for you, like for that event and the ebook that you created initially, did you notice an uptick in downloads? Like, would you say like it was worth like being a sponsor at that event?
Well, when I did that event last year, I did not have the physical book and I did not have the ebook. These two books just came out within a month of each other. They weren't supposed to. The ebook was supposed to come out back in August sometime. Still, it wasn't in time for that event, but those, it was supposed to come out then, and both of them ended up coming out within a month, probably like 3 weeks within 3 weeks of each other. So that was really hectic and crazy for me that they both came out around within weeks from each other. But when I did that event last April, I did not have the book. It was just to promote my coaching with Clark business, and so
Okay.
people learn more about what I did, being that I was a presenter there and I sat on the panel. So
So
that's why I actually got the package that included like, the speaking part and I had a table.
So how did that? So did you get any, I guess, then coaching gigs after promoting like coaching with Clark?
To be honest with you, no. And that was my fault because we did have access to like everyone that registered
Mm-hmm.
um, because of the package that I had. I was given 300 emails because that's how many people registered, and I didn't really do anything with that. So it was
Like
up
send them
to
out
really
like
like
material and
promotion,
stuff.
like email promotion and all of that stuff like that. And I really
Mm-hmm.
didn't do anything, but I am now. So ask me in a few in a couple of months,
Right.
you know.
It's like all the work from last year and the last 6 months or so is like now about to really take effect. Like
Right,
as soon as the book is published, right? Like
right.
that's when you're going to
Mhm.
start like marketing hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
because I have several things like so, it's not just this AM coaching program. I actually I did my dissertation on dating violence, um,
mm,
and I have a whole system coming out surrounding dating violence because I did a lot of presentations on that in school, inside schools, based
mm-hmm.
and violence. So I have a whole digital academy coming out on how young ladies can build their self-esteem and self-confidence, and it's called Respect My Beautiful.
Mm,
So I have a whole program of that coming out as well. So I have a lot of things that's just going to boom at one time. It wasn't meant to be that way, but
mm-hmm,
it's the way it's just happening.
mm. Now, do you have any advice out there for people who are also juggling multiple things, or even some advice out there just for people who have these ideas in their head, but they haven't executed one yet?
Well, if they definitely have those ideas in their head, they have to get it down. Like start writing goals. I suggest writing goals to start saying when are you going to make this start happening? Because you can sit around every day for years and keep those ideas floating in your head, and unless you start getting them down and start giving yourself a deadline date on when you're just going to start doing little things, and then I suggest taking baby steps for everything. Um, then they would just be ideas. And
Mm-hmm.
they can start with the smallest thing possible just to start making that idea come into fruition by just doing whatever. Like, I don't know what their business may be, but
Mm-hmm.
just taking those little baby steps to making those things happen. Write out a whole action plan on whatever your business is or the idea is, what you need to make it come true. What's the
Mm-hmm.
intended outcome that you want from whatever your idea is, and then what little steps you can do daily. Like, I'm reading this book now. I'm with a coaching group, and they had us reading this book called The 12-Week Year. Excellent, fantastic book. I read it prior to this group, so I was happy when they was like, "Oh, y'all first book to read is The 12-Week Year." I was like, "Yes, I read that book." So the 12-week year pretty much tells you how to set or shows you how to set goals every 12 weeks. Because they were like, when you set yearly goals, there's nothing wrong with setting yearly goals, but you don't get as much accomplished when you set yearly goals because it's too long
Mm-hmm.
and it's too much. So
Mm.
like, you really can't see like next January. You think,
Right.
but you can't really see like next January I'm going to be here. So just pretty much taking 12 weeks and realistically saying to yourself, what can I accomplish in 12 weeks based on my schedule? Because
Mm.
everybody's schedule is different. Some people have more time to do things, some people don't. And based on your schedule, what can you realistically get accomplished in those 12 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
And just keep setting those goals every 12 weeks.
Mm. And then, no, I think that's amazing advice because I'm like somebody who like loves like goals because I love having something to work towards. So I think that's great advice because you need to have attainable goals. Even if you know, like in a year, I want to be here, 5 years here, 10 years here. There's no guarantee because life is life, right?
Right.
But you know, you can have those things in mind, but having those shorter goals like will really help you kind of maybe attain some of those larger goals, you know, be it their financial goals, life goals, career goals, what have you. Well, I just have like a couple of wrap up questions for you. I mean, you've dropped a lot of like knowledge bombs here, which is amazing. But one is, do you feel like you have discovered your true passion?
Definitely.
Mm,
See, I always thought that I needed a PhD to leave the school system and do whatever it is I wanted to do at the time that I would always think about leaving. But no, I didn't need to have a PhD. I felt like PhD was going to give me freedom, give me job freedom, and didn't realize that all I needed to do was believe in what I wanted to do, and my freedom will come through that. I know my passion is to help people.
mm,
And because I've been where a lot of people are struggling mentally, having a lot of fear and all of that stuff, and not, going after what I wanted because I was too afraid. When every time I thought about leaving the school system, I would go, oh no, I need my paycheck. Oh no, my kids need that health insurance. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would just like cower away and be like, oh, well, I got to stay here even though I'm unhappy.
Mm.
So I know what it feels like to be in a situation like that. And it doesn't have to be leaving your job or just to be happy. You have to, believe in yourself and do the things that you want. Most of us are unhappy because we are not doing, or our life is not where we think it should be. I hear a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the time say, oh, I'm 40. I thought that when I was 40, I would be doing this. Well, you still can do it.
Right. Life is not over.
Right. You
Right.
still have to believe that you can do it. I have several mental health clients that the first thing I ask them is, where do you believe your life should be today?
Mm,
And when they say that, I already know that they living in some type of regret because they're not where they thought they would be at this particular time in life.
mm-hmm. Go. But it's no time like the present.
Right. And most of them don't believe that they can have it still. They
Mm,
think because I'm not there yet, that's the end.
mm-hmm. No, great advice. And then I have one random question that I ask all the guests. What is one thing you cannot live without? It could be anything.
I don't know. Shrimp.
That is, I know, right? I feel you with that. I'm like a total like seafood lover. So when it comes to like shrimp, salmon, scallops, like calamari, I'm like,
So
I don't think I could live life without it.
we need to hang out because every Friday and Saturday I'm sitting at some table eating shrimps or crab legs or something.
Right. I am so with you there. And then also, like, where can the listeners find you? Like, where can they find you online? Any social media handles? Or if they wanted to take advantage of your coaching program?
So they definitely can reach out to me on Facebook at Cassandra Clarke-Williams, Williams, and that's Clark with an E, Clarke. I am on Twitter at Coaching Clark, and I am also on Instagram at Coaching with Clark.
Mm, perfect. Thank you so much for being on here. You like really, I mean, even for me, like with the speaking information, like I've been thinking about, that's one of my goals for the year. So, I'm going to take some of the steps that you recommended, some of the advice you gave and try to put it into practice. So thank you for coming on.
And thank you for having me.
I don't know about you guys, but I was pumped after hearing her. I mean, really, when you think about it, what it boils down to is just pushing past that fear and putting yourself out there. I mean, she gave some great examples. Go to your local library, go to one of the local universities or community colleges and just say, like, hey, I am an expert on this topic and I love to speak. You know, you can have somebody go there and tape you, and, you know, that can kind of catapult, you know, like the start of your speaking career, or even like the book. Like, you know, it's so funny because I've even had like this idea for a book, and really it's just like sitting down and powering through it and then just getting it done, right? It's like there's no excuses, you know? So I know this episode has really inspired me. I think she has done a lot in this past year, and I cannot wait to see what she does the rest of 2017. I might have her back on here for a follow-up. But it's interesting. I was listening to an influencer episode on the Smart Passive Income podcast, and really her message was kind of like the same too, is like reaching out and connecting with people, you know, and she even talked about like, you know, joining like communities and things like that. So it all kind of goes back to people. And what's really interesting too is on this other episode I listened to, she said she has barely like any, I believe, social media following, you know, but because she's constantly connecting with people, building up her newsletter list, you know, getting on podcast episodes, that is how she's getting her clients. And she was able to make 6 figures a year doing what she loves, coaching. And it wasn't because she has like 50,000 followers on Instagram, right? Because I think sometimes we get caught up in that, like, oh, we don't have enough followers, so we're not legit. But no, we're not legit if people don't know what we're doing and we're not putting ourselves out there. And I think, going back to Cassandra, she has done a really good job at putting herself out there. So I really can't wait to see what she does in 2017. But anywho, that is all I have, folks. Just a couple of things. If you're interested in cleaning up that inbox, I got a free course over at nachesnow.com/inbox. It gives you instructions on how to sign up for that free course. Also, I mentioned in the last episode, if you go to nachesnow.com/work with me, or you just head on over to the site and go to the menu, there's work with me right there. And, if you're interested in like a single coaching call or working with me over several weeks so I can help you kind of publish your passion online, or maybe even clean up your online passion, definitely go there, because I'm going to have a limited amount of spots available, because those are more like personal and one-on-one where I'm talking to people. And so, time is of the essence, right? And so in order to make sure I'm giving the people I'm coaching valuable time and able to do all the other stuff, like I will only be able to have a certain amount of slots. But if you're interested in that, please do that. And of course, if you're in the DC metropolitan area and you want me to talk to like maybe your community group or your school or whatever about publishing your passion online, or, your personal brand or anything related to that, hit me up. I'm ready. And I'm going to start putting myself out there, because I really haven't, if I'm honest with myself. Anyway, I got a really good guest next week. She was my coach from last year, who helped me kind of get focused, because sometimes, even though you know all the stuff, like you're your hardest client, so you need other people to give you a kick in the butt. And so she really did that. And so she has some amazing tips and advice. So I can't wait to share that episode with you next week. But anywho, I hope you have an amazing week. Stay connected with me on social media, or go over to nachesnow.com/10 to see the show notes for this episode and leave a comment. All right. And as always, please go over to iTunes and give me a 5-star rating. That is actually payment to me. Like that's like one of the best ways to say thank you, because it really helps people find the show, and it's just great. Okay, I gotta go. All right, till next time.